I've spent a good chunk of the last week tooling around with the latest update to the free fan game HoloCure, and I have some thoughts about it from a game design perspective. I want to go over the 9 new characters first, and then I'll talk about some slight changes I'd like to see to solidify a gratifying gameplay experience. First on the list is Fubuki. She's pretty average, I guess. Getting damage bonuses based on bonus speed is actually a unique design that I appreciate, but chance to dodge and proc on dodge builds always felt strange to me. If you're winning, then they never come close to triggering. Mio. She feels like a strictly worse Sakura Miko, straight up. Ulman procs only with her main weapon, and Mama is healing over time feels completely out of place. I guess it makes sense because Cheerful Laugh encourages you to get close to enemies, but having no healing synergy to go with your guaranteed healing seems random. Okayu. Onigiri bouncing is hard to get used to. Her damage steroid is annoyingly inconsistent as it relies on having food nearby, and is prone to wearing off at the wrong times. Her special being Eat Enemies is funny, but like all defensive specials, it feels like there's never quite the right time to use it. Korone. Decent baseline weapon and stuff, but her skills don't feel terribly synergistic. She has damage reduction and healing, but her only built-in attack increases by getting hit to trigger endurance, and get hit for benefit builds always feel kind of stupid. Sora. Sort of a healing build, but with inconsistent triggers. Her special attack is tepid, and her main weapon is kind of a pain in the ass because it has a dead zone in the middle. Also, she has no built-in damage steroid at all, which you'll really feel. The enemy then is close, but requiring a proc to get your bonus damage is a heavy burden. A big chunk of her damage has to come from idle healing, and she doesn't have the consistent healing of characters like Fauna or Miko. Next is Azuki, another don't-get-hit character, much like Crony, which I appreciate. She's got no attack buff, but instead a haste buff, so anything that increases attack gets even better on her. Getting to mess around with enormous amounts of speed is fun, but the character kinda lacks crowd control outside of that. Encores are fun to chain together and add a high skill ceiling. Roboco, a genuinely unique design, issuing built-in flat power boosts for extra experience gain and benefits for leveling up. In practice, she's fun, but even 10 extra levels don't compensate for losing a really busted skill like FPS Mastery or Workaholic or Dancer. Suisei, a crit build that felt consistently too stubby. Axe swing is a bit smaller and a bit slower than you'd like. She also has a bit of an anti-synergy between her skills that pump crit and her main weapon that auto-crits. And finally, Miko. Her special is a hard counter to your ability to see, but other than that, she's pretty strong. Built-in healing on kill, an attack steroid that triggers on healing, and bonus area damage and slow that triggers on any attack. The healing is consistent enough that you can just about take injection-type Asakoko without feeling the downside, which is a major boon. Overall, the 9 new characters all feel a bit lower end. Many of them don't have strongly defined synergies the way Bei or Fauna or Sana do. It's as though their skills were conceived more as references than as a solid gameplay core, which I understand, this being a fan game and all, but it's still a little bit disappointing. Alright, now for the design stuff. All gameplay design fundamentally is built on choice. The player makes a choice, and it has a noticeable effect on their level of success. Games like roguelikes excel at this, to the point where learning which choices are the right ones is basically what the gameplay is. If someone taught you, oh, these items are good, these items are bad, that's basically a spoiler. It would take something away from the fun of learning. And there are simple ways to increase the number of decisions that a player has to make, in ways that have an actual impact on their success. HoloCure already has a few, stuff like item and weapon limits, but there's another one I have in mind that would be trivial to implement. Instead of 3 slots for skills, give each character only 2. Force players to choose a skill that they can live without. For some characters, it's easy to trim a worst skill. Things like Mama or Kon or Time Bubble, which are nice to have but don't affect total damage output. For characters with 3 really powerful skills, this is a genuine choice. Is it worth keeping Bubba at the cost of Detective's Eye? Do you want the extra DPS of Trailblazer or the momentary safety of Phoenix Shield? With Haymaker skills like the Rapper, Death, and Workaholic, which one could Callie conceivably live without? These are actual questions that don't have obvious, clear-cut answers. They're open to debate, one might say. And that's the nature of player expression. Good players make better decisions. Let's look at Miko, for instance. Eroge Hero is easily the best way in the game to keep Elite procced, which is Miko's main damage boost. The two go together perfectly, and it's hard to forego one without instantly losing the benefit of the other. But at the same time, Baby Language is also a sizable damage upgrade, especially with multi-hit weapons like BL Book, giving it more chances to trigger, and it also hits and slows in an area. So, is it better to give up on Baby Language procs, or sell for crummier healing sources like Nurse's Horn? Well, that depends on your item loadout and how you choose to play. That's the essence of player expression. I firmly believe that a game that encourages its players to think about it is a complete success, and this is an extra avenue for just that. And that's about it from a design perspective. There's still a bit of design space that I think could yet be explored, like more ways to make certain weapons or items clearly better on some characters. Stuff like the cutting board is perfect in terms of guaranteeing item diversity and ensuring there's no single best build for every character. Miko's elite bonus and Suisei's axe bonus are great, but I'd love to see more and subtler synergies. Things like items or weapons that are fine on their own but have a bonus on crit or on healing, to enhance existing builds and give characters with incidental crit and incidental healing a little bit of a boost. The high-risk, high-reward items like Energy Drink and especially Face Mask seem very strong, almost auto-pick, and I think synergistic power is a lot more satisfying than flat power with a downside. Other than that, most items feel reasonably balanced against one another. Except for Chicken's Feather. That item is absolutely insane. 100% auto-pick under all circumstances, in a way that deflates all possible tension and makes the game boring. There's never ever a time when an item or upgrade would save you from a situation, and a Chicken's Feather would not. A revive being worth a single level sounds crazy when a full screen of enemies represents nearly a level worth of experience all on their own. So please, I'm begging you, either disable it on higher difficulties or heavily throttle it, clip that chicken's wings. If I were handed the designer crown, I would make it something like this. You only ever get one revive. On use, delete enemies instead of defeating them so they don't drop experience, and reduce your bonus attack, bonus speed, and max health all by 50%, scaling down to 0% at rank 3. That way needing to use a revive represents an actual cost instead of a get out of screw up free card. And to fix a fatal mistake, 3 levels sounds a lot more reasonable than 1. Okay, now I'm done. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever. If you liked hearing me talk, then let me know.